This was Donald Trump's most unhinged speech yet. He was speaking at the Faith and Freedom event. This is supposed to be a Christian conference that meets in Washington, D.C. And Donald Trump said things that should offend not just any Christian, but should offend any American. Let me just show you what he first started saying. He first said that he wants to create a migrant fight league to have migrants fight against UFC fighters. Play the clip.
Tough. It is so tough. Dana White. Did anyone ever hear of Dana White? He's a legend, right? UFC, ultimate fighter, ultimate fighting. And he's a fantastic man. I said, Dana, I have an idea. Why don't you set up a migrant league of fighters and have your regular league of fighters? And then you have the champion of your league. These are the greatest fighters in the world. Fight the champion of the migrants. I think the migrant guy might win. That's how tough they are. He didn't like that idea too much, but actually it's not the worst idea I've ever had.
Then as he's speaking to this Christian group, he says the word hell, and he tries to say the word rebuttal, but he says refuddle, and then he keeps on repeating that and then says hell. Here, play this clip.
And my stupid people, when I wanted to refute it, they said, sir, don't dignify it with a refuddle. Refutal or a refuddle? What the hell word would that be? Refuddle? What they'll say, he didn't know, refuddle or refutal, but they don't know either. Sir, it should not be dignified, sir. I said, well, I got to fight that. That's the worst thing you could probably say to me would be that. He said, sir.
He then goes into the story about how he'd rather be electrocuted than eaten by sharks. And he said that he was criticized for saying that he'd rather be electrocuted than eaten by sharks. And this is a point that he wants to tell that story again to this crowd at the Faith and Freedom Christian Conference. Play this clip.
They wanted to, now they'll say, oh, these stories are terrible. But these stories are, you heard my story in the boat with the shark, right? I got killed on that. They thought I was rambling. I'm not rambling. They want to make boats. And they are demanding that they be all battery operated, all electric. And I was in South Carolina at this wonderful family boat yard. The big yard make a lot of boats, from 17, like fishing boats, 17 to 30 feet. And I said, how's everything going? No good. They want us to go all electric. I said, well, would that work? No, because it's so heavy, we can't get the boat to float. The battery is so heavy. So then I start talking about asking questions, I had an uncle who was a great professor at MIT for many years, I think the longest tenure ever, very smart, had 3 different degrees. And, so I have an aptitude for things. There is such a thing as an aptitude. I said, well, what would happen if this boat is so heavy and started to sink and you're on the top of the boat? Do you get electrocuted or not? In other words, the boat is going down and you're on the top. Will the electric currents flow through the water and wipe you out? And let's say there's a shark about 10 yards over there. Would I have to immediately abandon, or could I ride the electric down? And I said, sir, nobody's ever asked us that question. But sir, I don't know. I said, well, I want to know, because I guarantee you one thing. I don't care what happens. I'm staying with the electric. I'm not getting over with it. So I tell that story. It's, just funny. And the fake news, they go, he told this crazy story with electric. It's actually not crazy. It's sort of a smart story, right? Sort of like, it's like the snake. It's a smart, when you figure what you're leaving in, right? You're bringing it in. The snake, right? The snake. And the snake, I tell that. And they do the same thing.
And if you're wondering, is he going to talk about anything that matters to the American people? Is he going to talk about policy? Is he going to even have any coherent thoughts? The answer is no. But it also gets even weirder than what I just showed you. Then Donald Trump says that he was genius when he called Nancy Pelosi Nikki Haley. It was one of the most genius things that he did. Here, play this clip.
When I equated 2 people, I equated them. I shouldn't mention the names, but I equated Nikki Haley with Nancy Pelosi. I equated them. They said, oh, he doesn't understand the difference. No, I understand the difference. He doesn't understand the difference between Haley and Pelosi. No, we understand that. I understand a lot of differences, but anything you do, the fake news will take it and turn it. But with him, they take bad stuff and try and make it look good. With us, they take genius, pure genius, and they try and make it look right. They try and make it look bad. It's the exact opposite.
He then goes on to talk about Silence of the Lamb. And he goes and says that he got a lot of criticism for talking about how he's friends with Hannibal Lecter, the fictional murderous cannibal, but that he likes Silence of the Lamb, and the Lamb he calls it. And this is what he wants to talk about with this Faith and Freedom conference crowd. Here, play the clip.
Mental institutions and insane asylums, because actually there's more than a slight difference, right? Whenever I say Silence of the Lamb, the fake news back there, they say, oh, he's talking about Silence of the Lamb. And I say, the late, great Hannibal Lecter. Oh, he likes Hannibal Lecter. No, they're crazy. When I imitate Joe Biden can't get off the stage, I walk into a wall purposely. I look at that wall. Oh, that's perfect. Sometimes they don't have a wall. You're freestanding. It doesn't, but I imitate him and I walk into a wall, and the next day they write, Donald Trump could not find his way off the stage. No. So I don't even do it anymore. These are crooked people.
He then compares himself to Jesus, and he says that he's gotten more wounds than anybody, and he says that he would take off his shirt, and if people saw him with his shirt off, the crowd would be very impressed by him with his shirt off. Play this clip.
And I have the wounds all over my body. If I took this shirt off, you'd see a beautiful, beautiful person. But you'd see wounds all over me. I've taken a lot of wounds, I can tell you. More than I suspect any president ever.
You see, I told you when I started this video, this was the most unhinged one yet. And by the way, all the other speeches are similar to this in how unhinged they are. He's just kind of bringing all of the elements together as his cognitive abilities deteriorate rapidly. Then he talks about how he believes he's been treated worse than Andrew Jackson and President Lincoln. Here, play this clip.
But in history, they say Andrew Jackson was treated the worst. President Andrew Jackson. He was a great general and a very good president. And Abraham Lincoln was second worst. Now, he had a civil war, so, you sort of think that was understood. And now they're rewriting the books. Trump was treated the worst, Andrew Jackson second, and Abraham Lincoln third. But I definitely took top spot. I took top spot.
And then to this Faith and Freedom crowd at this Christian conference, he wants to know if anyone has ever read the 10 Commandments before, because that's something new to him. And he's like, wow, did you ever read this? Thou shalt not steal. Here, play this clip.
Rest you. Who likes the 10 Commandments, by the way, going up in the schools? They think it's such a bad thing. I said, has anyone read the Thou shalt not steal, has anybody read this incredible stuff? It's just incredible. They don't want it to go up. It's a crazy world, a crazy world.
He then tells the audience that he doesn't need their vote and that they shouldn't vote. He doesn't need anyone who wants to vote for him to even vote for him. Here, play this clip.
I tell my people, I don't need any votes. We got all the votes we need. I don't need votes. All I want to do is make sure that we guard our vote. It's guard. We stop the steal, okay? There's a lot of expressions. I want the vote guarded. I want the steal stopped because we don't need the votes. We have the votes. We have more votes than we need. What we need, I tell these guys, I tell even RNC, I tell Michael, I tell Laura, I don't care. We have all the votes. What I don't want is those votes to disappear. They disappear. And new votes appear, brilliantly appear. That's what we have to do. If we do that, we have it made. If we don't do that, we're fools. Okay, we're fools.
He then says that because evangelicals and Christians don't vote the way they should, they need lockboxes, and that lockboxes would help them. Here, play the clip.
And I hope you can put the lock boxes in the churches, because that's what you should be doing. You should have lock boxes. These boxes that they cheat with so badly. You should put them in your churches because, the evangelicals and the Christians, they don't vote as much as they should. I don't know if you know that, They go to church every Sunday, but they don't vote. And we have to make sure they vote just this time, because all you have to do is this time. You don't have to worry about it because we're going to straighten it out very fast. Just this time. Go vote.
He then tells the audience, kind of admonishes the audience. He says, don't say USA, don't say USA, vote, after he just said you don't need to vote. I mean, this thing's all over the place. Here, play this clip.
Don't give me any of that USA. Go out and vote. That's all I ask. Don't say USA, USA, we love Trump, USA. And
he then talks about forts and how the names of certain forts have changed. And he says that the forts whose names have changed in the United States were used to win the world wars. I'm not sure he understands what went down in the world wars, but let me show you this. Play the clip.
Anybody that was, I mean, it's just like incredible. Changing the name of what we won world wars from those forts. Fort Bragg. I mean, so many of the forts, we won world wars. We dominated. We saved the world from those forts. And now they decide to take the names off. And wait till you see ultimately what happens with those names. They did, I call it a transition, like transitioning. They have a transition name before they name it. The Reverend Al Sharpton Fort. Fort Al Sharpton. Now you can just imagine. You can just imagine. But this is a transition. They've done a couple of transitions. These people they're sick. They're sick.
He then says if he's elected, he's going to dismantle and defund and totally remove the Department of Education. Play this clip.
And I will shut down the Federal Department of Education, and we will move everything back to the states where it belongs and where they can individualize education and do it with the love for their children.
But he then praises Norway's education system. And then he says that when he destroys the Department of Education, then 30 states will adopt Norway's education system and the other states won't. And then some states will do very good in education. I know what he's talking about here. Play this clip.
Worse than it is now. Can't get any worse. But many of the states, I would say 40 of I went over them, 40 of the 50 states will do much better. And I'll bet you 30 of the states will be phenomenal. It'll be like beautiful. It'll be like Norway. You know, Norway has a great education system. In New York, they said, yes, we're studying the Norwegian plan. Oh, really? You're studying the Norwegian plan? Well, you better bring a lot of cops along because you have a lot of problems, right? We're studying the plan of Norway and Denmark. And actually, China is very high on the list. I mean, China's number 3 or 4 on the list. Think of it. Can you imagine that China is number 3 or 4 on the list? No, we're going to give it back to the states, and most of those states are going to do a phenomenal job.
By the way, I think I do know what he's trying to say, and I think he is clearly saying things that are implicitly or perhaps explicitly racist. But if you want to go and look at your red states, you can go see that they have some of the worst education systems in the country. And that's where lots of the problems are. The highest crime rates and the worst education systems are in these Republican red states. So this is what Donald Trump was talking about at the Faith and Freedom conference. I do want to show you this, though, because I think it will kind of show that people are onto all of Donald Trump's scams. Like, remember when Donald Trump spoke at the purportedly a black church last week, but it was actually he filled it with all his kind of white MAGA supporters who were wearing hats and MAGA hats and chanting Donald Trump's name. Well, you know, the people of Detroit are kind of on to Donald Trump. And I'll just show you this video right here as Donald Trump claims he's getting black support. Let me just show you this TikTok that's gone viral. Let's play it.
A cuss?
Yeah, you can cuss.
He's a fucking racist. Why he came here? To try and get black votes.
Well, he went to the white black church to get his votes and everything, but the only quorum he had was white folks. He can't get my vote.
He wanted to steal Detroit votes, take them away, make them seem like they didn't matter. So for him to come back to a black community church and still asking for our support, I just feel like that's wrong. I feel like it's not genuine.
Yeah.
And I'm not voting for him.
I think it was a bit of a
a smokescreen. If you look at the demographics of the people who were actually there versus where the event was held.
And what would you say your top issue is, especially for the Detroit community?
Resources and employment.
Get rid of these abandoned homes, renovation, not just downtown, coming to the inner city.
Homelessness.
Continuing to expand infrastructure.
Can we ask you who you are voting for?
I'm voting for Biden.
Biden. I choose the less of two evils.
Biden for real.
Yeah, I plan on voting for Joe Biden. I don't think the alternative makes the situation any better. So
anyway, tell me what you think in the comments. But, this is the leader of the Republican Party. This is how he's behaving. There's obviously serious cognitive issues. This needs attention. This needs coverage. This is as deranged as it gets, unhinged as you get, dangerous. That's strange stuff. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million subscribers together. Thanks for watching.
Enough! Send it to the big house, not the White House. Get the new exclusive tees, mugs, and stickers right now at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.